The problem isn't that raises are too small. Most people who feel like their raise disappeared actually got a real one. The problem is timing. A raise hits your account once a month, but the things waiting to absorb it, rent, subscriptions, car payments, those run every month permanently. By the time your second paycheck with the new number arrives, the math is already done. We're going to run the numbers on a real raise, trace where it actually goes over 6 months, and show you what the decision looks like before it's already been made for you. Let's start with how a raise actually lands. Because the number most people celebrate isn't the number that changes their life. Say you're earning $67,000 a year and you get a 3.8% raise. On paper, that's $2,546 more per year. It sounds like a meaningful amount. But before you see a dollar of it, federal income taxes, state taxes, and payroll deductions take their cut. After withholding, that raises closer to $177 a month in actual take-home, not $212 a month, not $2,546 divided by 12. $177. That's the real raise. The gap between gross and net is the first place the raise shrinks, but it's not the last. Raises are usually announced before they hit the account, sometimes weeks in advance. That gap between knowing about the money and actually receiving it is often when the first decisions get made. A lease renewal is coming up. A car situation has been pending. A raise that's been confirmed once a month gets spent in conversations that happen immediately. And $177 a month is genuinely meaningful money. Over a year, it's $2,124. Invested consistently at 7% annual returns over 30 years, it compounds to roughly $218,000. The problem isn't that it's a small number. The problem is that most people never see it as a distinct number at all. It arrives mixed into a paycheck that already has commitments running against it. You don't receive your raise in a lump sum. You get it in pieces, 1 month at a time, and the things waiting to absorb it operate on a completely different timeline. There's a distinction in personal finance that almost nobody makes explicit, and it explains the entire pattern. Spending breaks into two types, variable and fixed. Variable spending is discretionary, a dinner out, a weekend trip, a clothing purchase. You can adjust it next month without any formal action. Fixed spending is committed, rent, a car lease, a loan repayment, a subscription that auto-renews. Once you're in every month until you take a deliberate action to get out. Staying in is automatic. Getting out requires effort. The raise arrives in monthly increments. Fixed costs, once upgraded, are permanent commitments that don't respond to how you feel about them later. Here's the asymmetry that matters. When income goes up, fixed costs upgrade quickly and easily. When income stays flat or drops, fixed costs don't self-adjust. They keep running at the upgraded level until you cancel, downsize, or renegotiate. That's not a character flaw. That's how committed spending is structured. So when a raise lands, there are two possible timelines. In one, the difference gets redirected before any fixed cost changes. In the other, fixed costs absorb it first. The window between those two outcomes is weeks, sometimes days, and for most people it closes without them noticing it was open. What does absorption actually look like? It doesn't happen in a single bad decision. It happens in 3 layers, and each layer has a different cost to reverse. The first layer is immediate and discretionary. The raise gets announced, or the first paycheck with the new number hits, and spending loosens slightly. A few nicer dinners, a flight upgrade, some items in an online cart that would previously have been closed. This layer is real, but it's reversible. Nothing auto-renews. Nothing requires a contract. This is not where the raise actually disappears. The second layer is semi-permanent, a streaming tier upgrade, a gym membership that had been on hold, a productivity app, a meal kit service, a monthly delivery subscription. Each is small in isolation, $11 here, $18 there. But they stack and they auto-renew. Once in place, they don't require a monthly decision to continue. They require a deliberate decision to cancel. That's a different kind of friction, and it means these expenses are stickier than they appear at sign-up. The third layer is where the raise actually gets spent. And it's the one people don't consciously connect to the raise at all. A slightly larger apartment at the next lease renewal, a car lease that runs $185 more per month than the previous one because the income feels like it supports it, a storage unit for the additional things that came with the extra space. These are multi-year commitments. Once signed, they don't adjust based on how the rest of the month goes. The raise isn't gone. It's just paying rent now. And because these decisions happen on different timelines, a lease renewal might land 6 months after the raise, a car decision 8 or 9 months later. They don't feel connected. They don't feel like the raise being spent. They feel like life progressing. The income went up, the lifestyle followed, the savings number stayed flat. Let's run the numbers on two people who received the same raise. Both are 34 years old. Both earned $67,000. Both receive a 3.8% increase in January, $177 a month net. That's the only variable. By March, person A has upgraded their streaming plan and started a gym membership. That's $43 more per month in fixed costs. In July, their lease renews and they move to a slightly larger unit, $220 more per month. In October, they replace their vehicle. The new lease runs $171 more per month than the previous one. By December, their fixed cost floor has risen by $434 a month. The raise added $177. They are now spending $257 more each month than they're earning extra. Person B routes $160 of the $177 net raise as a standing direct deposit instruction the week the raise is confirmed, before the first upgrade decision gets made. The gym membership gets skipped. The apartment renews at the same rate. The car gets replaced with a comparable payment. Their fixed costs move $0. By age 64, at 7% annual growth, that $160 a month from person B has compounded to $389,000. Person A has a slightly more comfortable apartment and a vehicle that will be worth roughly $4,800 in 8 years. This is not a comparison between a responsible person and a reckless one. Person A made a series of individually defensible choices. Each one made sense in isolation. The only real difference was the sequence, which decision came first. The window where this is preventable is real, and it's short. When a raise gets confirmed, not when it hits the account, when it's confirmed. There's a period of a few weeks where no fixed costs have changed yet. The income is real. The commitments are identical to what they were the month before. That's the only moment when the decision is genuinely in front of you rather than already made. Most people treat a raise as income that has arrived, then allocate the remainder after spending adjusts. The upgrade happens first, sometimes deliberately, sometimes through a lease or car decision that feels unrelated to the raise. And saving happens with whatever is left over. What's left is usually close to nothing. The practical approach runs in the opposite direction. Before any fixed cost changes, route the raise amount to a savings or investment account as a standing instruction, not a manual transfer. Manual transfers require a decision every month to execute. A standing instruction requires a decision to stop. The friction sits on the other side, which means money moves by default instead of spending upgrading by default. The number doesn't need to be exact. If the net raise is $177 a month, routing $150 and holding $27 as buffer is fine. The goal isn't precision. It's getting the money into a committed position before a fixed cost occupies the same slot in the budget. One committed position versus another. The raise doesn't need discipline, it needs a prior claim. Every lease renewal, car decision, and subscription upgrade has its own timing. The raise has one moment that matters, the window between confirmation and the first new commitment. Everything that comes after is operating on income that's already spoken for. This pattern holds across every income level. It's why people earning $90,000 feel roughly the same financial pressure they felt at $72,000. It's why a third raise in 5 years still doesn't move the savings number. The raises are real. The gap in the account is also real. What connects them is the order of operations. The raise arrives monthly. Fixed costs, once upgraded, are permanent. The only place the outcome can actually change is in the window between those two things, between when the raise exists and before the next commitment locks it in. What you do in that window determines whether the raise builds something or whether it just raises the floor. If you're thinking about how this fits into the broader sequencing, specifically whether to pay down debt or invest first when income goes up, there's a video here that works through that decision. It's worth a look before you route the first dollar.